everyone had time to peruse the minutes from the July 14th meeting?
I'd make a motion, we approve those minutes.
Second?
Motion and second to approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. John, this is Mr. John Twitty, MPUA. Got some exciting news to share with us?
Indeed, I do. Good morning, everybody. Nice to be
Good morning.
nice to be with you today. I have a great job. I've been at MPUA for about 3 years. I've been in the business about 40, and I worked at Rolla Municipal Utilities and City Utilities in Springfield. And I can tell you, without any question, the best part of my job today is when I get to come and do these kind of things. Public power. All of my career is in public power. And I think, I'm certainly biased, but I think it's the purest form of service to provide services that people have to have these days to live modern life. Jeff's heard me say this a lot. I like to say, you can't live modern life without lights. And you can't live life at all without water. And most of us would like the wastewater to head the right direction out of the house. So the services that you're providing in Marshall are just incredibly important. And when I get an opportunity to come, especially when there's a separate board of public works, as there is in a number of our member communities, about 100 of them across Missouri we serve in one form or another. You all, and I know some of you have been on this board for a long time, the volunteer nature of what you're doing on behalf of the citizens is just really very special. And so for our organization, which obviously includes Marshall Municipal Utilities, thank you for your service as well. I'm here today to present a certificate of excellence in reliability from the American Public Power Association, which is the national trade association for municipal utilities, represents about 2,000 organizations just like Marshall. I think I've been active in the organization for a while, and I think, at least when I was more active than I am now, the average municipal utility size in America was about 1,700 meters. So that makes you big in comparison with that average size. But you also have Los Angeles as whether they're the largest right now or whether Puerto Rico is the largest, but you've got Seattle and San Antonio. You have lots of big cities who have municipal utilities. So APPA is trying to literally cover the waterfront. We think about electric service, Jeff and these guys think about electric service a bunch of ways. Are the lights on? What's it cost? And increasingly, we're concerned about how electricity is generated. And but of all three, of course, if the lights aren't on, something happened, and it's not good. I'll tell you just one little bitty story. We have what we call a mutual aid program, and so if these guys have a storm that comes through and knocks some wires down, knocks some poles down, they might very well call us, and we might call on some of our other members to send crews here to help. And by the same token, if Chillicothe lights are out, or Independence or Harrisonville, these guys might send some of their crews to help. It's a really important part of public power, and we've had some of that going on this week. More in the southwest part of the state, there was some pretty good wind Sunday night into Monday morning, and probably still some customers out. So when the lights are out, people don't care what the bill is. They just want their lights back on. And in addition to that, we are concerned about what it costs. And generally speaking, Missouri utilities like Marshall offer really competitive rates when compared with other places in the country. I had a customer one time in Rolla when I was there. It was calling me to complain about his utility bill, and he was a pretty powerful personality, and I knew him, and I went to school with his kids, and I said, well, Bill, you have some of the lowest electric prices anywhere in America. He said, I don't care about that, John. I don't live anywhere in America. I live right here. and maybe you all have some folks in Marshall that might not say very much different than that. So this is a certificate of excellence in reliability, and it is to acknowledge that Marshall Municipal Utilities has significantly exceeded the 5-year average for all U.S. electric utilities for reliable electric service. The utility participates in the APPA E-Reliable Tracker service to track its power outages and restoration against national benchmarks. And this is in accordance with information that's provided by all utilities to the Energy Information Administration. This one happens to be dated April 5th, 2023, and Jeff was kind enough to let me come, and this has already been presented once at one of our meetings, and I like to also say, hey, I'd love to come to your council meeting or your board meeting and present it again. When you have outages, these guys aren't happy, and something's got to happen in order to put the lights back on. And outages are measured two ways. Did you have an outage? And if you did have an outage, how quickly did you get lights back on? And so obviously you want the number of outages to be as low as you can possibly get it. And then when you have outages, and everybody has outages, how quickly do you get the lights back on? And we had a bad ice storm in Springfield a number of years ago, and you get lots of phone calls at home at night, and people want to know when, it's always the same question. We can have my lights on. Try to give them as good information as you can. And this particular gentleman was talking to me about, he'd lived in St. Louis for a number of years, and he never had power outages in St. Louis. And I said, well, sir, I can tell you that Union Electric, now Ameren, is a very fine utility. But please don't suggest to me that you never had power outages, because you do. And lots of people like to talk about, well, if you just bury all of those lines, you'd never have power outages. Well, there are certain conditions that if the facilities are above ground, they're more susceptible. But these guys will all tell you, yeah, that's fine and well if it's underground, but it's a whole lot more difficult to diagnose and put lights back on when you got to dig to get to them. So there's a balance, like everything. So you should be really proud of this. I know you are. I know you're proud of these guys and for Jeff's leadership to make this happen. And thank you very much for letting me come and present this to you this morning. And if you have any questions about MPUA or this award or anything we're doing, I'd sure be glad to try to respond. And I'm going to hang around for a little bit. I always think it's bad form to come and give an award and then just immediately hit the door. So I'm going to hang around. If you got something you want to chat about after the meeting, that's great too. So Jeff, thank you. Guys, thank you very much for your good work. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank
You
We're
bet.
pretty
Nice,
proud of 'em.
nice to see you. Well, as you should be. As you should be. So let me actually present this to you, and then you're probably going to give it right back to him, and he's going to put it in his office.
Thank you very much.
You bet. You bet.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, John.
Thanks very much.
Congratulations, Doug and John.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, let's move on into reports. Doug, you're first.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I do have an action item for you today concerning the ditch witch mini skid that we ordered back in February. I was able to visit with the sales representative last week and talk to him about this. His comments were that the SK 800, which we've ordered, is still behind schedule. That unit uses a very popular Kubota engine that they use in several other pieces of equipment, such as mowers, small tractors, other things. It's just difficult to come by right now. But what he did mention is that they have an SK 900 that is on the lot. Really, the only difference in the machines, the physical size, everything's the same. That machine has a different engine. It's a Yanmar diesel with a turbo, which gives it a little more torque, more power, a little more lifting capacity. He has that unit in stock on the lot, ready to be delivered if we was interested in purchasing that. If we were still would wait on the SK 800, it's going to be a minimum of 45 days out, and there's no guarantee we get it then. It's just kind of whenever it becomes available. So at this point, my recommendation is for a motion to accept the Sourcewell bid from Ditch Witch for a new SK 900 mini skid steer with trailer and attachments for a difference of $2,042.62, which is still keeps us under budget.
Yeah, we can get it.
I did just a little Googling on that Yanmar motor, and it seems like that's a real common diesel motor, and has a good reputation from what I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That engine, they put in a lot of their bigger equipment. It's actually the same size engine, horsepower-wise, to the SK 800. They keep it below 25 horsepower to avoid all the DEF and all that stuff. If they get above 25, then they have to go across that road. So.
I'd make a motion to accept Sourcewell bid from Ditch Witch for a new SK 900 mini skidster with trailer and attachments for a difference of $2,042.62.
I'd second that motion.
Motion and a second to accept the Sourcewell bid from Ditch Witch for a new SK 900 mini skid steer with trailer and attachments for a difference of $2,042.62. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen. The overhead underground project's going pretty good. We had a little delay with the locating equipment. Failed. The locator and the beacon was no longer communicating. That system was about 3 systems behind. They no longer support it, worked on it. We was able to get that replaced. If it dropped a little bit, we'd be back on that project. Pole inspections are complete. There was a total of 38 rejected poles. 3 of those are priorities. We already have 1 replaced, working on replacing another one today. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add, except Poor Boy began spraying right away this week. They were back on the job Monday, so be moving along with that. So, unless you have any questions, that's all I got.
Has everything been repaired from the wind damage?
Yes, yeah, had a couple poles down. I think there actually still is a few services. I know one on Ted Street that's still needing repaired by an electrician. But other than that, everything's been taken care of.
I think you all had some long days.
Had one, yes.
Thank you for that.
A lot of times I'll see the guys out in the field and I'll go talk to them, just see how they're doing. See,
Yeah.
you got everything you need, just stuff like that.
Yeah.
One thing is, I know I talked to Jim, I'd like to get his group of 200-foot fiberglass tape. That would be nice. And then we look at getting a set of crimps and crimpers for the lugs that go on the transformers.
Hydraulic?
Yeah. It just seems like that would be beneficial and save some time. They were kind of checking my set out and digging it, and I'm like, y'all don't have that? Like, no, sometimes we got to use different stuff. And, I mean, just for, I want to give them the right tools to do the job. They do a great job. We just got an award for what you guys do. And
Yeah.
would you look into that?
I would.
See what we can do there.
Easy enough.
Appreciate it. Any other questions for Doug? Thank you, Doug. Grant, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Just a couple updates. We did receive the cab and chassis for the dump truck replacement. We're sending out bids this week. They'll be due back on September 5th. We did, Burns and McDonald have set the job site trailer. Those got power ran to it. Asbestos removal is undergoing now. Should be 4 to 6 days on that. The masons are due here on the 14th, so that job is off and running. Not much has changed on far as lead times of things. Still, MCCs are still out October, but that's progressing well. And CIPP, those cleaners are done. We're scheduling the return for installation of the liners. They're communicating with the factory now on when the liners will be made. They haven't had a date on when they'll be complete and be back yet. But other than that, I don't have anything to add unless the board has questions.
I'm just curious about the 4 main brakes on English, but we just kept breaking.
Yeah, ended up being more than 4. I think the total was somewhere around 8. That line was put in 1976. It was ductile iron. One of the main problems was it was bedded in rock when it was put in, and it wasn't wrapped. And just when it got dry, it hung. You know, the ground separates, and every weak spot was exposed. And we put in a lot of long hours on that piece. One of the brakes happened to be in a piece of old casing that ran under the old railroad tracks, so that was a 2-day ordeal. It's really kind of baffles me as why, you know, that pipe's not that old considering. I mean, the paint that said American Pipe on it was still looked brand new, but the bottom of it was just gone. And the only thing I can attribute it to is it was bedded in rock and not wrapped.
Thank you.
So we have to put something in to continue that, to replace that or fix it, or?
Well, I'm reaching out to Burns McDonald and OSP for replacement of that. There's quite a bit of it replaced now. We kind of did away with the Band-Aid method with the stainless steel patches, and we're just cutting out chunks. You know, the casing deal was a 40-foot replacement, a lot of 10-foot sections replaced, and then when we got it going, a valve that we operated over and over and over, it blew up. And a lot of it is replaced now, but yes, I am looking into
It's gonna be
total
due by the time we get
replacement.
it done anyway. What's we got like a projected end date for that North Street pump station?
2024 at earliest, I would say.
It should be back in service December this year. The switchgear on the electrical side won't be in until August 2024, so we'll temporary that come in, but it won't be done until 2024. But I think everything else is.
Other than the actuators.
Actuators they were having a little bit of trouble getting those. They've got the valves here, so a lot of that stuff is starting to show up. There's just a couple items that'll probably drag it out a little bit, so. And considering the circumstances, you know, the supply chain issues, I mean, I think we're doing pretty good there. We only have 2 items. Everything else is coming along pretty good, so. Grant, you may mention smoke testing as well. We're getting pretty good at that.
One more thing on North Street, you probably will see a change order on that. It's a no cost to us change order. The mason, there was a parapet that they had to take completely off that Burns McDonald didn't foresee. But the change order would be just update the drawings. It'd be a no cost change order, but there will be one you've probably seen.
Yeah, there's some costs, but Burns has taken it out of their allowance instead of ours. So we've got, instead of having change orders, there's allowance authorizations on both sides. Burns kind of missed that part of it. They didn't realize it was gonna have to be taken down that far, so they're gonna go ahead and cover that cost, but they will update the drawings when they get that done.
Yeah, smoke testing, it's scheduled to begin August 14th. We did attend the kickoff meeting for that. A lot of materials are starting to show up for that. There will be 2 full-time staff. We're training office personnel, our staff, to handle phone calls and such. We are working on public awareness of all the critical buildings, addresses. We work on a lot of website stuff. We have a QR code that you can get on our website, and it kind of gives you a little video, and that's moving forward. That is scheduled to start on the 14th, and kind of putting maps on there where we'll be. We've notified the police department, fire department, and let them know kind of how to respond to calls.
Do we stuff the bill envelopes?
We will. I think we're going to be
But
mailing.
postcards, Burns is mailing out postcards. We provided a QR code, and IT staff has already got that set up where it's got a video, smoke testing video, and then a little bit of information. So I shared that with dispatch, customer service staff, and then, as Grant mentioned, police, fire. They're going to be daily updates sent out, and the drawings will be updated to reflect that, just so, I mean, you know, we're going to get calls. Somebody's going to think a building's on fire. And we can run radio ads or whatever, but I think everybody will be prepared to get those calls, so that'll be coming up here pretty quick.
Any other questions for Grant?
I got a question. Well, actually, it's from somebody else, but Spencer and I go to a coffee group. And after this thing showed up in the newspaper about us receiving some state money, I took pictures that we had about what's going to be done over here. One of the questions, how much storage do we have in town for water?
The big reservoir is 3.75 million. Number one is 875,000, and two is just about touch over 100,000.
But we're going to lose,
Two,
right? Okay,
and that we're able to do that because Travis added storage in Malta Bend.
okay. But I'm talking about just here in town.
Yeah.
Okay. And how much water do we use a day?
Around approximately 2.7 million, probably.
Okay, so, well, we have 3-4 days of storage at the most?
Yeah.
Well, these guys, well, actually, John Fletcher turned to me and said, if we have a disaster, he says, is that enough storage?
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
Okay, well, I
I mean, you never say never, but I don't foresee anything that we can't get fixed. And because we have dual feed to town from Malta Bend. We have a 20-inch concrete main and a 12-inch cast iron main that comes to town. We also have 500,000 gallon in the water tower.
right.
Yeah, I believe that's sufficient.
Yeah, and we do have a water conservation plan, so if something like that would happen,
Yeah,
I mean, we would hopefully make 3 days into 10 or whatever it needed to be.
Take care of the people first.
Right, but we do have a plan in place if that type of situation would occur. So.
But I told him I'd ask and let him know, so.
No problem.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there's a fine balance there with water quality too on the storage.
Sure.
You gotta keep
Yeah.
it, so it's a pretty fine line.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe like the hospital's got a contract with a company that if a disaster would happen, that they would get water in. And of course, we would supply them first. You know, all the critical places would get the first choice.
Fortunately, we know we have a plan. We're not super familiar with it. And we hope it stays that way.
Needed it, yeah.
Any other questions for Grant?
Nope, thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Eric, good morning.
Morning. Just got a few updates. Blower number one, it faulted 3 more times over the weekend after the adjustments were made. I've already been back in contact with Burns and Mac and Arizin. I'm getting a tech back out to resolve the issue. JCI has delivered one of our pumps, and we're in the process of installing that now. And Kyle and I will take another round of TSS samples deeper in the new aeration basin and get those to Burns and Mac. Other than that, I don't have anything unless you have any questions.
Did you get your drain, your spillage, did you get that done?
Yeah, they're ordered. We just haven't received them yet.
It was a concrete, but a drain that you needed to
It was just
make wider? or-
yeah,
Yeah.
and then we just need I had to order the grates, and they're still
Okay.
on order.
Okay. Thank you.
That blower one, is that one of our newer motors?
Yes.
It should be under
Yeah,
all
it
kinds
takes
of
care of
warranty,
it.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
Kevin's not
Yeah.
real happy. I don't.
No,
Yeah,
he's not happy at all.
They're taking great care of it. So,
Yeah.
it will be fixed, I'm sure.
Do they have to pull that whenever they use that? Just
So
when they put in place to pull it?
so far with Arizin, it's just been having one tech came out and made adjustments, turned the oil pressure up. The next tech came out, said it was too high, turned it down, and it actually made it worse. So they're going, at first they were trying to say it was in our PLC on what we were turning, the way the blowers were turning on and off. But we're kind of holding them to the fire now, you know, that something's going on with that blower.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit yesterday on the North Street project, and, you know, all three blowers have the same PLC, same programs, but only one is fault bound. And I think it's probably pointing towards a sensor would be my
Yeah.
guess. But I think we finally got mayors and convinced it's not a programming issue, it's with that specific blower. So.
Any other questions for Eric? Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Go to Jim's section.
Jim's not here. He did provide me with a few updates. They've got about 35,000 feet installed for the Round 2 Reconnect grant. And that's in that first bid. Contractor started on the second bid, and he's about 2 miles into that, including several bores under some petroleum pipeline crossings. I think they've got, they're falling behind him with about 150 splices done, so that continues to move forward. Pretty good process there. We did meet with USDA week before last.
Yep.
They came in, kind of worked with us on, I think they were kind of interested on the municipal side. I don't know that they've got a lot of other municipal awardees for grants. In our first round, we've already closed it out. We're probably one of the first recipients in the country to complete a project and work on closing it out. So they're pretty impressed with that. I think Jim took them on a tour. They went out and watched fiber being blown in, watched some of that other stuff. So, and a couple of them were from Washington. And, mentioned the White House, so I kept bothering Jim. He may have to go to the White House. It might be why he's not here today. So, anyway, yeah, just that's moving forward, and I think Tony, you guys submitted some more funding requests.
Yeah.
So,
We're getting close to round 1 being reimbursed in whole.
yeah, I think that's been the bulk of his work has been on the broadband side of things.
52 installs since the last meeting's pretty good.
52 installs. Yeah,
Pretty impressive.
yeah, and we're probably getting ready to get hit by incoming college students. There always seems to be a surge. I think a lot of those they can turn on from the office up here though. So that's pretty much the update he provided me. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions.
Let's just go on to Travis.
Travis is still waiting for the flocculator repair, filter media. The valves are in, filter valves are in. Waiting to schedule a date for that. I think he's got that listed sometime this month, hopefully. And those are the big valves in the basement. I don't know if you guys went down there and looked at those. That's going to be a pretty sizable project. But I think we just kind of hurry up and wait for him still. But it's getting closer, hopefully.
They got all their media on site now?
I believe so. I think it's a scheduling issue. They were gonna come in and take the media out of one filter, and then they had to leave and go somewhere, and then they were gonna come back, and Travis didn't want to be without a filter. He said, well, go ahead and do whatever you gotta do. When you get here and start, we need to finish, because we've got our annual changeover from combined to free chlorine and flushing, which we're gonna do a quarter ahead of time. So we're gonna need that water supply to do all that. So he doesn't want to have all those filters out. And that'll be, I think, September is when that's scheduled.
Scheduled for like the 12th.
Depending on when we get our notice from DNR for the sampling for the THMs. And I think that state just sends that. So we've got that kind of built into our schedule. But I think everything's here. He's just waiting to get it where they can be on site and stay on site. So.
Do you know if he got rid of any more lime?
We have not.
Okay.
No, we've reached out to some other people, provided them samples, and they're just
Okay.
kind of in limbo right now.
I think on that last meeting, there's a farmer that was talking about 30 loads and he got 16
And I don't think he's been back.
and been back.
And then I've got information out to 2 more.
Okay.
And I think they want the product, it's just waiting on him for maps, because we'll have to do the sampling before applying it.
Yeah.
And so there'll be a little delay there, but
Okay.
just hopefully when harvest starts, you know, or at least a little bit before then, we'll have some stuff lined up.
Any other questions for water treatment? Jared, good morning.
Morning.
We received our lead valve back from Experitech in St. Louis Monday morning. We did install it. We ran Unit 6 yesterday. We did see quite a bit of improvement. We still had the noise at one time. It was not near as bad as it was the 2 tests before. I've sent all the information from yesterday's run to Ethos and did that late yesterday afternoon, so I'm hoping to hear from them today to see where our next step is from there. We need to talk to MPUA and see what our options are as far as testing. Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards as good as it was yesterday, putting it back in the market and running it, seeing how it does. I think we do need to prepare for the possibility of an overhaul here shortly. Units 10 and 11 ran every day last week. On Thursday, we had a diaphragm blowout of the switching valve on Unit 11. We were able to get a new one of those in Monday morning and got it put back together, tested it, and it was good. Guys are installing the circ water pumps on 10 and 11 this morning. Hoping to have those finished up here this week and maybe test them out the next week or so. And as soon as we're happy with those, we'll pull the other 2 out and send those off. I think that's about all I got, unless you got any questions.
What's the cost for an overhaul?
That's one thing Ethos is supposed to be putting together for us. In 05, when we did the last overhaul, it was, I want to say, between 300,000 and 400,000. That's been 15 years ago. I'm sure it's gone up quite a bit since then.
And when you say the near future, year,
If we run it and we continue to have the same problem, I think we're looking at right away.
6 months?
I think so.
Okay.
If it continues to run, I think we could keep pushing it down the road just a little bit, but I don't think we ought to push it too far.
What do we got in that fund?
Just under 200,000.
Yeah, it's in the board packet.
We're working on putting it in the budget for next year, yeah. So, I think we had budgeted, what was it, Unit 6, there was some stuff we were gonna do in 25, but if we do this, we might not have to do that, so that would
Eliminate a few of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best outcome would be for it to run and then let us pick when we take it offline, because really, you know, Jared and I have talked, I think those units are more important to have in the wintertime. I hate to go without it then, so we may visit with OPEB staff and see what, if we have that choice, what would work best for the pool. So, still a few questions to be answered, but I'd like to hope we can get it back going, which it sounds like they're getting close to.
I'd like to hear what Ethos has to say about all our results from yesterday, which we haven't heard yet. But that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, the way we went into outage is gonna hurt us on our capacity credits, and it'll hurt the pool as well, because you're gonna be, I don't want to share that the new gas reporting and, you know, how your generation credit or your capacity is based on your performance. And if it's a scheduled maintenance issue, that won't ding, but the status that caused us to go there is not good. So the sooner we can get out of that, the better it is for us and for both. Jared has no pressure.
So what kind of a time frame are you looking at it?
Their just real quick answer to me a week or so ago was it could be up to 6 months.
On the overall?
They're taking it apart, putting it back together, isn't that long, it's the waiting for parts, machine work and all that in between. It takes the time.
On this bleed valve that, so they're out of, the company doesn't exist, or they're.
No, it does,
They
that
do.
particular
Okay.
valve was
Okay.
obsolete.
So can we get a spare, or,
We can,
okay,
what concerned me a little bit was when they got the valve, they took it all apart. They said that the valve was like extremely good condition for its age. We were kind of hoping we were gonna find something there that was, here's the problem, and that wasn't the case. Now, did that help yesterday? I'm hoping it did, but I can't say that for sure. We had a lot better luck yesterday.
your valve that can be retrofitted or something?
It can be retrofitted
Okay.
to a new style. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for the update.
And if something changes, I've been kind of trying to send you guys emails.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
To keep you up to date. If something develops here in the next few days, I'll try to keep you in the loop.
It's a pretty important unit to us.
Right.
Partial to it. Any other questions for Jared? Thank you, Jared. Move on to Megan's section.
I think the only thing to talk about there is if you look, part of our succession planning, we haven't quite got to the point of presenting the board yet, but we've identified some areas I think we've talked about previously. And we decided to go ahead, we're gonna add the water treatment plant operator temporary position. Kinda like we did for the power plant. So we've got a lot of knowledge and stuff that needs passed on, and trying to fill that on the front end instead of the back end. So you'll be seeing that advertisements for that out shortly. We have a couple more safety achievements, if you notice. IT and broadband completed 2 years last week. And then, wastewater treatment plant, we just had the safety dinner for the water treatment plant, and the wastewater treatment plant is right behind them with 13 years themselves. So a lot of good news on that front. Staff continues to do a really good job.
That's great. Congratulations.
Very good.
Tony.
Morning.
Morning.
I've got kind of the third quarter summaries in there. That first one there on the financial summaries, ideally, we want to be at 75% on the third quarter. Overall revenues are at 70%, expenses are 65%. They're, on the electric, we're kind of heading into the summer months here, so that revenue should be going up. On the broadband, the revenues are 61%. There's about $600,000 in grant money we haven't gotten yet. That's kind of, I had that at budget for, that's why it's kind of low. And then obviously natural gas is doing well. So overall, in June, our net income was at 1.1 million for the utility. So we're good there. I kind of included a cash reserve summary, kind of let you guys know where we're at. Our cash has dropped around 600,000. A lot of that is wastewater plant. You guys have any questions there? Then I included kind of the restricted accounts down there. See, unit 6 has got 161,000 in that account. Then we got our sewer main account and our I&I account. It's something I included this packet. I didn't have it in the last packet. I kind of did a summary of where we're at on our loans, interdepartment loans. Kind of give you guys a kind of a snapshot of where we're at there. And then kind of included a little bit more budget detail there on the departments. If you kind of go through there and look, there's some items that were kind of high end, specifically utilities, telephone. I think a lot of that, I went through there and looked, a lot of it I think is just timing. I did know the unit 11's utilities were high in the winter months. I don't know if we had a bad winter, I can't remember, but they were a little high. But everything else seems to be in line. So if you look there at water, I think Travis has got a lot of projects he's still waiting on. That's why the maintenance is low. Insurance is low for for water altogether, because typically they get hit a little harder on the insurance side. But when we renewed, it was quite a bit less than I budgeted. Nothing else really stood out to me that I was concerned about. Unless you guys see something there you have questions about, I'll try to answer it. I know there's a lot in there. Hopefully we'll have a draft of the budget to you for next board meeting, so trying to get that wrapped up. Other than that, trying to answer any questions you guys see have in there. You will see that our interest income is it's up quite a bit, so.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Unless you have an interdepartmental allowance.
Yeah, like it's good and bad at the
Well,
same
you see
time.
the interest expense is high too on some of those departments too, so.
Any questions for Tony?
If you do later, Phil, obviously you can reach out to me.
Yeah.
So you're still looking at
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
You guys jumped the gun on that?
I was kind of looking at the pilot. I was just, the pilot's something that seems like they're down. I'm surprised because the revenues for
Those pilots also include donated utilities in there too, so that could have a factor in there too.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Jeff, good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. Kind of continue to work on time of use rates. We did kind of have our internal kickoff meeting last week. We do have, I think, the program, I think Doug's got the program from Landis for time of use. Waiting on Tyler for the billing module. And I don't, TOEF is still scheduled. They're not gonna be complete till October, so, it's, we can't really promote a lot of that stuff until we know what we're promoting. So TOEF is, rates, timeframes. We did, part of the delay, we did have them go back and look at their winter rate that they proposed the first time. If you gentlemen remember, it was kind of, didn't really provide a lot of opportunities, and it encompassed most of the day. So, as soon as we get the meter module from Tyler, we're gonna go ahead and plug in. I think we picked a substation meter kind of as a guinea pig. There's a lot of things that come with that module. We're not really sure what we're gonna be able to do yet, or how that integration with billing's gonna be. But we've talked about about a few different ways. I think there'll be several options there, how we present the bill and do all that, but should be getting closer to, I don't know, was it 2 weeks on the module, 2 to 3 weeks?
Hoping to have some kind of training set up by the end of the month, so.
Kind of getting closer, we'll get that going. Kind of moving on their peer review summary, I've condensed that down. You can see we're pretty much down to 2 items there. One other update, the funding that we've been designated for water infrastructure. DNR is designated to administer that. I did get an email from them last Thursday. I've submitted several projects. Not really sure how that framework or that process, they just asked for some project information at this point, so, which there's no shortage in projects. I mean, we went ahead and selected a couple of big ones, North Street Pump Station, water treatment plant study. That got us to about almost $100,000, so if they'll take those two, we may have to dig in the OSP and pull out some more to get those funds. So just kind of on the front end of that. And haven't heard anything back since last week. So lead and copper rule survey letters are ready to send. I think we're going to wait on those until after the smoke testing. I don't want to overwhelm everybody with smoke testing and lead and copper rule stuff, but I think that's we've got till October of next year to try to get as much survey data from the customers as we can. So we'll start that shortly. You can see there's an MSDC update in there as well. We did have a planning meeting on the 20th. We're about to wrap that up. Personnel committee's going to look at advertising to fill the vacant director position. So starting to move forward there. And then WSKF is getting pretty close. We reviewed the first draft of their study for the junction, and had a few changes for that, but that's getting closer to being done good as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions you gentlemen have. Power prices, wholesale markets, we projected a 6% increase, and it's held pretty steady, so we're pretty happy. I mean, a lot of that's tied to natural gas and renewables, and you can't predict it, but so far, I think everything's gone pretty good. If you look, I think May was $64, all in cost. So, anytime you get to the middle of 60s, it's not bad.
Good repair the bill.
Yeah, we just submitted our August, or July bill this morning.
Any changes or dates on Greenville?
John would probably know as much as anything on Greenville.
Great question. The Public Service Commission has finished the hearing. All of the reply briefs, which lawyers do, have been submitted. The latest information is it appears, and this is let me back up and say, because Grain Belt changed the plan to drop more energy in Missouri and also changed the place where they were going to drop that energy, which is actually a good thing. They had to go back to Public Service Commission for an amended certificate of convenience and necessity. All of the reply briefs are in. It appears if the vote were held today, it would be a 4-to-1 vote in favor of granting the amended certificate. We're not quite there yet, but it appears that that's all going to go fine. Of course, they continue to acquire rights of way in both Kansas and Missouri, and I'm still cautiously optimistic that this thing's going to get built. It's probably not going to get built and completed and online before 2028 now because of legislative challenges and the need for this new certificate. We continue to talk with the folks in Venergy, who are now the owners of that project, about whether there's an opportunity to buy even more capacity on that line, especially now given that it's going to drop more in Missouri. Whether or not there's a deal to be made there, we don't know, but we still have the initial 200 megawatt wholesale transmission service agreement for 25 years. So we'll certainly, obviously, those conversations come up just about every quarter, and Jeff is up to speed on that. But if, again, cautiously optimistic, I wish it was going to be here a lot sooner than it is, but it's just not going to be. So hope that helps.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions for Jeff? Move on to cash disbursements.
Okay, will purchase power be on next meeting's cash disbursement?
Yes. We'll actually have two disbursements. I don't know if you got my
Yeah, I
email,
did.
the Tuesday switch.
Okay, and that's why,
Yeah, be sitting down before you look at it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we may have two, well, we have two power bills on that one?
No, I think we'll cut it. Yeah, I don't want, it could possibly be two in there, yeah.
Well, yeah.
It is okay.
And, yeah.
We're gonna pay it anyway.
Yeah.
Basically, you're gonna have two disbursements in one meeting, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that switch they made to Tuesday just messed up that one meeting.
Yeah.
And by the time we figured it out, it wasn't worth going through all the hoops, so.
Yeah. We still need to do these.
Yeah. I still got pain.
I make a motion, we approve the disbursements as presented.
Second. Motion second to approve cash disbursements. All in favor, aye? Aye. Pose same sign. Next board meeting is Thursday, August 17th.
Sorry, I missed
I
that.
hadn't seen you forever.
I'm surprised he's able to walk.
He walked out when they wouldn't talk to him. Vince came in and called the meeting to order just to prevent him from starting running the meeting. Lewis finally gave up on that.
Wow.
Yeah, which I've never seen him do.
I've got been in Nicaragua on the 7th. I won't be back there. I will be very much unavailable.
He'll be back the 18th, which is a Friday.
It's Friday.
Will it be too late?
I'm flying back Friday, so
Okay, we can talk about it, because I don't, Spencer's not, hasn't do it. I talked to him yesterday, and he said, yeah, that was yesterday morning. And he seemed a little bit more upbeat, he was getting some strength back.
I called him about 4:30 yesterday afternoon, and
Yes.
he wasn't feeling well, and he had a doctor's appointment this morning, and they were gonna have to wheel him in a wheelchair. I told him I would bring him.
Works for me. Yes.
Yeah.
So if we do, instead of Thursday, since council's on Tuesday, we'll do ours on Monday.
Yeah, should be able to.
And that way I can be back and.
Yeah.
Back in the right time zone.
Yeah, go ahead and set it there. If something comes up where we have to move it, but I don't see why we have to.
So we go ahead and set it for Monday?
Yeah, which would be.
21st.
21st?
Yeah. So Monday, August 21st.
business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion second to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.